am Michelle Chalfant, psychotherapist, holistic life coach, and human just like you, learning to navigate life's challenges. With over 25 years experience, I teach people how to get healthy using the adult chair model. The adult chair model is where simple psychology meets grounded spirituality, and it teaches us how to become healthy adults. From anxiety and depression to codependency and relationship issues, you can use the adult chair for just about anything. Each week, I share practical tips, tools, and advice from myself and a wide range of experts on how to get unstuck, how to live authentically, and how to truly love yourself, all while sitting in your adult chair. Welcome to the Adult Chair Podcast. Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Adult Chair Podcast. I'm so happy to be here with you, as always, seated in my adult chair. I actually do feel that way right now. I feel very present and centered as I look at my calendar and I'm like, oh my gosh, it is the end of August. Where has the summer gone? I'm absolutely shocked by that. I have one son in college already, back to school, doing, of course, all online classes, and he still wanted to leave our home and move into an apartment and be away from us. I'm like, what's wrong with you? Why wouldn't you want to stay home with us? He's like, no, I'd rather be in an apartment with my friends online, which, of course, if I was 20 years old, I would be doing the same thing. And my other son is leaving in like 12 days to go to London, which makes me very sad. He's going to be gone for at least a year, if not longer. He actually wants to move there. So all of you UK people, and I know there are tons of you out there, plan on me coming to do an adult chair workshop because I will be visiting my son, I assure you. So that's very exciting. But anyway, it's going to be hard losing him too. And he's heading overseas, kind of crazy. Anyway, so today, you guys, I'm going to be chatting with you about feeling like you've ruined your kids' lives or life if you have one child, and you're wondering how you can fix it. I'm going to explain to you how. I'm going to explain to you a lot of different things. I have 7 steps for you. You know how I love to simplify everything. It's just how I think. And this is the feedback we get all the time. People love how simple this is. So I've got 7 very, very simple tips to really help you to improve that relationship with your child. But not only that, and I'm going to give you a hint. It's more about you. But anyway, this is going to be, I think you're going to really like this show. I think it's going to be a great one today. One of the things that we do when we feel like we've gotten it wrong is we are very hard on ourselves and we blame ourselves or shame ourselves or have negative thoughts about ourselves, all of that kind of thing. And the way that we transform that is to get in touch with where we are in the moment and accept all of it. You can't change something unless you're owning where you are right now and accepting it. So I just want to share something with you very quickly here. You've got how many more days? Let me see. 1, 2, 3, 5 more days in the month of August. Jump into the membership. We did the whole month on self-acceptance, on acceptance. And then, which leads, by the way, into transformation. You guys, it's $39. Do you know how much you get for that money? It's ridiculous. Everything that you've missed this month has been recorded. So you can just grab it all and take it as if you're taking an online class. And the good news is if you join in the next 5 days, you also get, because it's a 30-day membership, you get next month. And I'm just going to give you a hint. It has to do with triggers. That's the hint. That's the hint. I think you're going to love it. So anyway, that's all I want to say about that. That's at theadultchair.com/membership. So jump in there. We'd love to have you. What's the other thing I want to say? Oh yeah, social media. You guys know I'm on Instagram and Facebook at Michelle Chalfant. Come join me there. And also don't forget, we have the Adult Chair closed group on Facebook. If you really want support and connection as you work on really finding your own adult chair, that is the place to be. Just go to the Adult Chair closed group on Facebook and come join us there. Okay. All right. I'm going to jump in now. So I get asked this question all the time, okay, for years. And so if you're feeling this way, please know it's not uncommon. to feel like you might have ruined your kids' lives or one of your kids' lives. And you wonder, like, how do I fix this? Like, is there a way to improve my relationship with my kid? Or, I screwed them up. We take a lot of responsibility for how our kids turn out. And in my opinion, I think we take too much responsibility. I've said this before in other podcasts. I'm going to say it again. Our job as parents or caregivers of these beautiful little beings is to be guardrails for them. So when a baby is born, it's like they're on a one-lane expressway, and I am the guardrails on the one-lane expressway. But as they age and grow up, the expressway gets wider. My guardrails move out. So by the time they're 18, they're on like a 12-lane expressway going back and forth, and I've got to be way out on a 12-lane expressway, but still have these guardrails. The thing is, though, I find that people get really worried when their kids, quote unquote, screw up or quote unquote, make a mistake. That's what's supposed to happen. Newsflash, like, kids are supposed to fail and stumble and make mistakes so they can learn how to get themselves back up. But we serve as those guardrails. We serve to help them. That is your job. Kids are supposed to make mistakes while in the loving protection of your home. So it's okay. It's okay. That's one thing I want to say. The other thing is, I've also worked with clients that they've had children and they might have spent many years with depression or anxiety, or maybe they had an affair. And these are also people that say, oh my gosh, or I was a rager and my husband was an alcoholic and we've ruined our kids. I know that we ruined our kids. And I've had many people cry in my office over the years, and I'm doomed. What am I supposed to do about it? My kids will never love me and they're going to blame me forever, and et cetera, et cetera. Now my son has anxiety. What am I supposed to do about that? How can I help them? So I really want to shed light on this from the lens of the adult chair model. When people ask me also, how can I teach my kid how to live in their adult chair? I have people with like 5-year-olds saying, I want to make sure my daughter or my son grows up to live in their adult chair. The same answer applies. Whether you feel like you've screwed up your kid or whether you feel like you have a child and you're trying to get everything right and perfect, what do? You, my darling people, live in your adult chair, because kids and humans, not just kids, but learn from experience far more than they learn from words. Give them the experience of living from a healthy place, which is your adult. So teach them nothing about this, honestly. Model for them, though. You become healthy, then they become healthy. Kids absorb what's going on in the house. Kids just absorb it. Think about this. Kids don't learn how to numb out their emotions because you sit down and say, this is how we numb our emotions. You have a glass of wine every day at 4:00, or this is how you numb your emotions. Let's have ice cream. They're watching, they're tuning into the energy of the household, and then they're sucking it in unconsciously. So the way that you can correct anything that's happened in the past that you feel like you've gotten quote unquote wrong, or the way that you plant positive seeds, healthy seeds, is you live in your adult chair as much as you possibly can. And today I'm going to share with you exactly how you do that with parenting, okay? And I want to say this. If you are a parent, I want you to drop this belief right now. I'm inviting you to do that. If I could command you, I would. And I say that with such love, only because it would be so much easier on you. Do not feel, I'm inviting you to take this on. Do not attempt to get raising children perfectly. Do not. Because you know what, my friends, there is no perfect. Instead, replace perfection with healthy. Become a healthy, emotionally speaking, actually, it'd be really good to become a physically healthy parent as well and eat healthy foods. But we're talking all about emotion here. I'm going to stick there. Stick to this point. There's no such thing as perfect. What is perfect? I want you to think about that just for a moment. Like, what is perfect? What's being a perfect mom or dad? Because I don't think it exists. Think about it. How do you know that you're getting it right with your kids? Are you getting it right if they get straight A's? Are you getting it right if they become like a star athlete? If they go to a really good college, does that mean that you did a good job? Think about it. Like, what is your response to that? Because I think that's BS. And I love you when I say that. You know I do. I would encourage you instead to be healthy with your kids. Be healthy. Those are the 7 steps I'm going to give you. How do you become a healthy parent with your kids, especially when you feel like you've screwed things up? I'm going to teach you how to correct that. Okay? Think about when you say perfect, like, well, my kids have to be perfect. I talk to so many parents, they put so much pressure, not only on themselves, but on their kids, on both. They are control freaks. And I say that from experience. Me too. Been there, done that. And you know what? It's not healthy for me or my kids. So we got to let that go. I encourage you to listen to Dr. Shefali. Oh my gosh. If there is anyone on the planet that parents and that lectures on being a parent from the adult chair model, it is Dr. Shefali. I'll put her information in the show notes. She's phenomenal. She's all about conscious parenting. And she's all about letting go of your expectations. It is so adult chair. You guys, I love her. So it's not about being perfect parents. It's about being healthy parents. We have a lot of expectations. We project our stuff, our wounding and our expectations on our kids. We need to stop that. You got to become aware of what you're doing. If you have a little boy and your husband's like this really big guy, or your husband played soccer, let's say, or hockey or football or whatever, and you have a little boy and you have this expectation that your little boy is going to play ice hockey because his dad did, and that's what he's supposed to do because he looks like his dad and he's going to be big like his dad, let it go. I'm not saying not to expose them to ice hockey, but if that little kid does not want to play ice hockey, you do not force that kid to play ice hockey. Instead, get curious about what your own little kid wants to do. You got to tune into your kids and get to know your kids. Each of us has a very unique and precious soul that has come in for all kinds of different experiences. So we want to guide our children. Remember the guardrails. But by the time they're 5, 6, 7, they're on a 3-lane expressway. Don't keep your kid on a 1-lane expressway. Like, let them be who they came in here to become, not who you think they should become, because they will be more successful in life if they become who you think that they should become. No way. Stop it. That is going to create more anxiety and depression from these kids. So let your kid be who they are meant to be and love them up. Okay? So people I know, I have had people come into my office over the years and sit and cry as they are comparing themselves, their family, to other families that, by the way, they see on Facebook or Instagram or some social media. Stop it. Facebook is a mirage. It's like Fantasy Island. All these families, I've done this, by the way. I'm not throwing shade. I'm not throwing shame. None of it. But the khaki shorts with the cute white tops on the beach. Okay, come on. And then it's like, I've literally had people come in my office crying, saying, look how perfect that family is. And I'll say, how do you know they're so perfect? They'll say, well, look, and they pull up their Facebook picture of the khaki pants and white shirts. I'm like, it's a Facebook picture. Are you kidding me? Well, they are. Look how perfect. And their daughter is going to this college and my kid's going to community college and they're da, 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 da. And then guess what? Guess what? How many times have you guys heard this? Guess what? Secretly, the wife is an alcoholic, or they got a divorce 3 months later and who knew that was coming, and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Let it go. Comparing yourself to anyone outside of you is going to create suffering. Please stop. Please stop. Okay, so no matter what you've done in the past, I don't care what kind of parent you are, let's start together today to start climbing in our adult and becoming really healthy parents. So let me go over these 7 stellar steps from the adult chair. Here we go. Hang on. So what does it mean to model for your kids to live in the adult chair? Here we go. Number 1, when we are healthy adults, we live in the moment. We live with presence. We be the best that we can be in the moment. What that means is we don't live in the past and the future. We live by what feels right for today. Remember the example I just used about, well, my husband loves ice hockey and I have this son and he's really big like his dad, so he needs to be playing ice hockey. And the son is upset, does not want to go to to ice hockey. And he's upset, he's crying, he's saying how much he hates it, doesn't want to go, it's too cold, et cetera, et cetera. Instead of getting mad at him and saying, you need to go and this is what you should do, you live in the moment. You go, wow, I'm noticing my son really does not like ice hockey. And when I suggest that he doesn't go, then you know what? He really gets happy. Now, it's not to say, I want you to hear me. It's not to say that your son should sit home and do absolutely nothing, but find the thing that your son resonates with. Maybe he loves to write poetry. Maybe he's an artist. Maybe he likes baseball. I don't know. So I'm not saying not to expose him to other things and see what his interests are. That's part of being a healthy parent. You're going to expose him to a lot of different things. Take him to the opera, take him to a Broadway musical, take him roller skating. I don't know, but expose the kids to something else. But if they really hate what you're suggesting, then stop pushing it. Live in the moment. What feels right for today? Okay? If you had a daughter and you really wanted her, you were so excited and you wanted her to come do nails and hair, and you finally got a daughter because you got all these boys and you couldn't wait to have your daughter. And guess what? She's a tomboy. And she doesn't want to do nails. She doesn't care about hair. And she dresses like a boy. Who cares? And I say that from the adult chair. You got to start saying to yourself, who cares? And we can say, who cares, remember, from the adolescent chair. And there's a slam there and there's shame there. Who cares is a very light statement that sets you free. Like, who cares? This is what's true for me now in this moment. I wonder who my daughter is going to become. Who cares if she's a tomboy? Let it go. Okay? All right, number 2, live with fact and truth and stay out of story and assumption. You know my statement, become a story buster. Okay? I did not do this well. Here's my example. I had when we moved to Tennessee 13 years ago, I was not happy here. I think if you've ever listened to any of my shows, you know that. And my son was this amazing soccer player and very gifted when it came to soccer. And he used to say, I really want to play in college. This is when he was 8. I just want to say. So, of course, Mommy dearest, me, mother dearest, bought into all that. And it was so fun, of course, watching your kid play. And he's this awesome soccer player. And so, but I'm miserable here. I'm literally crying when we leave my family, we all moved to Charlotte, North Carolina, like 20 years ago. So I leave all my family and drive back here and I'd be crying going, I don't like it here. I'm not making connections here. I don't think this is my place. But my assumption was, but he's on a really awesome soccer team. I can't leave because the soccer team that he's on, they were doing like the Olympic development and they came and approached him and all these top teams, the travel teams were approaching him. And remember, he's like 8, 9, 10, going as he's aging. I can't leave. Hello. We lived in Charlotte, North Carolina. Like there are some fantastic soccer organizations there, but in my very limited thinking and my assumption and my adolescent chair, I was like, nope. We have to stay here because he's going to play in college and this is the only place he can play because ODP is already with him here and all this, the Olympic team. Anyway, I'm like, okay, no, he's just got to stay here. So limited, you guys. Oh my gosh, I suffered for so many years. And guess what? I think you guys know my story. He did not ever play in college, even though colleges wanted him He could have gone anywhere in the United States, had to let that go too. It was like so hard. But when you live in the moment, and I sat with my son, which by the way, let's go back to number one. And I said, hey, your coaches said you could play anywhere. They will get you in on any team. Do you want to play in college? And he said, I don't want to play soccer full time in college. I really want to have a life. It hurt me. I had a good cry about it because for me, I wanted that for him. I know there are parents out there listening going, oh God, this is me. Because I hear from you. Let it go. Let it go. I had to let it go. I had to grieve. My son didn't even have to grieve. He was like, I'm over it. But then I was like, oh my God, I lived here for 13 years. I could have moved years ago. He didn't even play in high school, in college. So this is what I mean. Like if I was in my adult all those years ago, we could have moved back to Charlotte like within a year or so. And I stayed 13 years. Hello, adolescent chair. Okay. So, all right, moving on. Number 3 is to have compassion for yourself and others and to be easy on yourself and others. That includes your kids. Be easy, please. We're very quick to judge when we have ideas of how we think people should be and how we think we should be as parents. High expectations. That's not living with what's showing up in the moment. That's, again, high expectations and ideas that might not even be real. Let it go, people, and have compassion for yourself. Being a parent, literally, and I think a lot of you will agree, is the hardest job on the planet. Let me tell you why it's hard, and I think you guys will agree. I look forward to your comments on social media about this one, by the way. Being a parent is so hard because, let me tell you, it's not just the coordinating of, carpool and making sure everyone's fed and all that business. It's emotionally taxing when these kids push back on us, when they don't do what we want them to do, when they have temper tantrums, when they are teenagers and they're lipping off and they're getting themselves in trouble. It's so emotionally taxing for us as parents. It's a hard job, one of the hardest, and we don't get paid for it. So there you go. We have to sit and endure this pain from these kids sometimes, and it's a lot of work, but it's extremely rewarding as well. This is why we need to have compassion for ourselves. Give yourself grace, really, you guys. Let it go. We are going to make mistakes. We're not going to get it right all the time or perfect. Remember where we started. There's perfect and there's healthy. Let me give you an example. Let me give you an example of where I screwed up again. I love to throw myself and my husband under the bus. Here's one for me. So I think I might have shared this before. It's a good one. We were moving out of our last house from 2 years ago. We were selling that home, and I was having an open house the next day, and I had all the carpets cleaned, and I paid double or triple the money because this guy promised me that he could have the carpets looking brand new. And these carpets were probably 15 years old in the upstairs area, and they were the creamy white color. And he did this job. I don't know what he put on these carpets. You guys, they looked brand new, okay? So my sons were upstairs, and my foreign exchange student that I adored, it was my third son, and his friend were all upstairs in the bedroom. This is the day before, mind you, my open house, because I'm selling this house. Lots of people walking through the house, realtors coming through, the whole 9 yards. My house was perfect. They decided to wrestle. And upon wrestling up in the bedroom, because boys wrestle, no big deal, they knocked a plant over. So there was dirt all over the carpet. And they were trying to help me, so they decided to clean up that dirt. And guess what they used? Water. So you can only imagine taking a sponge with water. There was no vacuum, by the way. They just thought the sponge with water would help with the dirt. No vacuum happened. Or maybe they did vacuum. I can't remember that, but I don't think they did vacuum. I think they just took the sponge and they were trying to scoop it up with water. It literally I walked upstairs. It literally looked like, and mind you, my stress level was through the roof. I'm trying to have everything perfect in the house, open house the next day, et cetera, et cetera. I'm not trying to be graphic by any means, but it really looked like someone took a giant poop on this carpet and smeared it. It was atrocious. And I did swear at all of the children, including my son's friend that was there. I had a lot of swear words that flew out of my mouth. I couldn't even believe what was in front of me. It was a reaction to what I looked at, and I screamed. I was so angry. And of course, they all apologized. I'm like, get out of the bedroom. I was like, oh my God, thank God. When I finally calmed myself down, I was like, I need to go get one of those, vacuum things with a shampooer attached. So my friend ended up having one. So I was able to get it out. And within 2 hours, I sat them all down and I said, listen, you guys, I just want to apologize. I'm so sorry. That's being healthy. I said, I am so sorry. You should never be talked to like that. I had a huge reaction. We have an open house in the morning. I'm trying to make this house perfect. I've been cleaning for like 2 weeks. I've had help come in and clean the whole house. So when I saw that, you guys were not being helpful and I overreacted. And for that, I am so sorry. And it was honestly a lovely moment. And then I walked away. Now, let me tell you something. The old me, like in my 20s and 30s, I beat up on myself all the time. But what I love now, I have compassion for myself. I'm like, okay, shouldn't have sworn at the boys. But I corrected it by apologizing. And what's so cool is, as I look back on that, I'm really glad, not that I'm glad that happened, that specific example happened, but I have to say, I gave them an experience of really getting upset and angry, which anger's okay. I want them to see that anger's okay, not flash anger like that and, reactionary anger from the adolescent chair, but that anger's okay. And number two, the correction is the apology. That's healthy, you guys. Healthy. We want to teach our kids how to be healthy. So when they make a mistake and they yell at somebody, then the correction is, hey, I'm so sorry I did that. And I gave them a genuine, sincere apology. My kids do that back with me all the time. They get upset with me. And then they always come back now and they go, hey, Mom, I'm so sorry. I didn't get a lot of sleep or whatever. My kids are great at that. And I'm hoping, I don't know, again, I don't know why things happen in the world, but I'm hoping that I helped out with that because actually my husband and I both are very good at apologizing when we feel like we've done something wrong and hurt someone or made a mistake. And our kids do it now. So I'm so grateful for that. So give yourself compassion. And even if you've never done this before, you've never apologized to your kids before, you're not great at it, start today. Start today and give them a new experience. It's never too late. Unless you're in the grave, it's not too late. I don't care if your kids are 50 and you're 75. It's not too late. Okay? Number 4, set boundaries. Healthy adults set boundaries. When we are in our adult chair, we set boundaries. And I know my codependents in the group are saying, I don't know how to do that very well. And even people that are not codependent, they don't know how to do that. Let me remind you, boundaries are not confrontational. Boundaries protect yourself. Boundaries teach other people how we want to be treated. Boundaries help our kids feel safe. Give your kids a curfew and hold them to it with consequences if they're late. Not too high of a consequence. You don't want to ground them for 6 months. But when they go outside of remember the boundaries, remember the guardrails we talked about, when they're teenagers and they do something that bumps into the boundary, right? The guardrails are the boundaries. You've got to set a consequence. That's a boundary. They need to see you set a boundary so they learn how to set boundaries. Don't you want your kids to be able to speak up for themselves when they go off into the real big giant world? Yes, they got to see it at home and witness it at home. So stop being afraid. I did not know how to set boundaries either. I was terrible at it, but I learned. You can learn. Anybody can learn. I've done countless episodes on setting boundaries. Go to theadultchair.com/podcast and just put in the search bar any topic you want, but put in boundaries and all the boundary podcasts will pop up. Kids need boundaries. Okay. Even my son, by the way, who's like, how old is he? He'll be 23 in November. With COVID, he's been home. Even my 20-year-old, they were home since COVID. And this whole summer, when they go out at night, I don't care how old they are, I want them to be home by 2:00. Because when my kids are not home sleeping in this house, I don't sleep well. I need my sleep. It's a boundary. It's a house rule. It's not because they're bad kids. It's not because I don't trust them. It's because I need my sleep. It's about me. Boundaries teach other people how we want to be treated. So I've said to my kids, hey, if you're not going to be home at 2:00, sleep somewhere else. Go to your friend's house. Because otherwise I worry. Cannot fall asleep. So when I hear them come in, then I'm sleeping really hard. But I go to sleep at like 9:30, 10, but I'm off and on sleeping until I know they're home. So that's just a rule I've placed. But do give your kids some boundaries in the house. Don't let them talk to you with disrespect. That's not okay. And that's all you got to say. This is not okay with me. Go to your room. Not okay. Give me your phone. That's a great boundary for kids, by the way. Take their phone. They can't live without those things. So take their phone. And if they don't want to give you their phone, turn it off. I'm guessing you're paying the bill. Have it turned off. And if they get mad, it's okay. Let your kids get mad. It's okay. Here's number 5, respond versus react. I did not do a good job of that, by the way, when my kids smeared dirt all over the upstairs white carpets. I was in a reactionary state with lots of anger. But what we want to do as much of the time as possible is to respond versus react. A reaction is quick. A reaction is something that is unconscious. It just happens. It's a trigger. We get triggered and we react right away. So don't explode. Walk away, get centered, and then speak up. What we want, someone just reached out to me the other day about this. She said, I'm triggered all the time by my kids. I don't know what to do. I am constantly yelling at them. I'm angry all the time. How do I make it stop? Well, here's the thing. You're not going to make it stop when you're in the middle of a trigger. You can't stop it in the middle of a trigger because that part of the brain, that prefrontal cortex is shut off. So what you need to do is come up with a plan when you're not triggered. So you come up with a plan and you go, okay, so the next time I get really angry and I get triggered, I'm going to walk away. When I feel the energy building inside and my kids are ticking me off, I'm going to walk away and go in the bedroom. So you come up with a plan when you're not triggered. And then you step into that plan when you start feeling triggered, when you start feeling the anger rise up. But the plan has to happen. The pause has to be set in place when you're not triggered. And by the way, even when you come up with a plan, if you make a mistake and you still explode on your kids, even though you had the plan, try again. You're human. It's going to take a little getting used to. Even if you just walk away, turn your back on them, whatever it is. And here's the thing. Go back and apologize. Even if you have that explosion, do what I did and go, you know what? I'm so sorry. I'm working on this, you guys. I'm so sorry. I don't want to do this anymore. I'm really sorry. Maybe you ask them to walk away. If you're getting mad, tell them to walk away. Whatever you need, you figure it out for yourself. We're all different humans. You got to figure out what works for you. Number 6, learn to feel your emotions. Really learn to feel your emotions. We're not great at this as humans. I'm not going to lie. I did many podcasts on feeling your emotions. Many, many, many. Again, put it in the search bar on the podcast page on the website. You'll find all the podcasts on how to feel your emotions. The reason we want to feel our emotions, we want to get used to doing this. Number 1, for triggers. You got to feel your emotions when you're triggered. Like, this is how you start unraveling and healing triggers. And yes, I've done tons of podcasts on triggers too. So do that so you're less triggered. When you know what's going on underneath the trigger, then you are less apt to be triggered. Because underneath the trigger, within the trigger, is an unconscious belief or wound that is really yucky about you. So it's like, I'm unlovable. I don't matter. I hate myself. The trigger is the reaction, but what's happening is someone is pushing that button within you that says, I hate myself. I'm not lovable. So when you get inside and you start learning how to feel what's going on inside of you, guess what? You trigger less. Okay? How wonderful would it be for you to teach your kids how to work with triggers? Do not teach your children, and I've witnessed this. I've witnessed this far too much, I think. Do not teach your children to eat when they're emotional. Like, do not say, oh, here's a piece of pie or here's the cookies. I know you're upset about that breakup with your boyfriend. Let's go out to eat. Let's have some cake. Let's have some chocolate. Let's have some candy. Let's go shopping. Let's go buy clothes. No, I'm not saying you can't do that as the secondary part of helping them through it. The first part, though, is to sit down with your kid and you say, what's going on? Well, I'm really upset because my boyfriend broke up with me or my girlfriend broke up with me. All right. Well, let me be with you in that. Like, how does that feel? It feels terrible. Great. Okay. I know what that feels like. I'm so sorry. You know what? The best thing you can do, honey, is just to sit and feel those emotions, because the more you feel emotions, the faster they go through you. Because you can't fix emotions, you just feel them. Give your child some truths like that. Even if they're little kids and they don't know what they're feeling, you can say, where do you feel that in your body? What's that feel like? I'm so mad. Where do you feel mad? What's that feel like? My chest hurts. Great. I feel that too. Let's stomp around. Teach your kids when they're little, stomping, jumping. Let's go outside and run. Let's do all of that. I remember working, one of my first jobs in my early 20s, I worked at a home for emotionally disturbed children. And instead of sitting with them in an office, one-on-one, I was like, oh my God, we got to get out of this office. I took my kids outside all the time that I was working with. I'd have them run stairs. We were out in nature doing counseling and they loved it. They opened right up. We'd go for walks, we'd go for hikes, and they'd open right up and talk to me forever about what was going on in their family life and what was going on inside of them. But I also said, are you really mad? Yeah, let's run. And we'd run together. I remember this one kid, he was so angry. And I said, go pound those stairs. Let's go run up and down those stairs. These beautiful outdoor stone stairs. And we ran up and down stairs for like 15 minutes. And he loved it. He was exhausted and he cried at the end. It was so beautiful. But get your kids, if you have little kids, get them outside. Talk to them. Do talk. Here's the last one, you guys, number 7. This is something, if you've been to the Adult Chair Workshop, we practice this. It's powerful stuff. We want to become masterful listeners. This is a term that I created because we're not great at listening, and we want to become masterful at listening, okay? That means listen without judgment. If you want to raise children, let me say this in another way. Do you want to be that touchstone for your children when they are in a bad place, when they've used drugs, or when they're drinking too much, or when they've had a fight with their boyfriend, or when they want to have sex, or when they want to fill in the blank? Maybe they just want to change college majors. I don't know. But do you want to be that safe place for them to go? If your answer is yes, then I would suggest you learn how to listen to them without judgment. Again, I didn't say not guidance. You're still guardrails. You've got the guardrails. But listen to them without judgment. What I hear parents do, and I've done this, I've done a few family sessions over the years with parents. And when they've come in, it's like, oh my goodness, the kid would say something and the parent would jump right in there and go, if you don't go to college, you're going to be a loser. What? Stop. If you don't do this, this is going to happen. When your kid comes to you and says something, like, hey, Mom, can I share with you? I was over at so-and-so's house last night and they were doing drugs. And I tried, I got high with them and I didn't like it, but I just needed to share with you that that's what we did, or I just wanted to tell you what we did. Do not scream and yell at your kid in that moment. Say, thank you so much for telling me. I really appreciate it, but it's not okay that you're doing drugs. So there's going to be a consequence, but I love that you shared that with me. Thank you. And your consequence is less because you shared it with me. And then together, I would come up with the consequence. with your kid. It's not going to be hugely extreme because they shared with you. Like, I really appreciate that you shared with me. And some parents might say, this is the first, again, this is personal preference. It depends on your kid. Each kid is unique and different. I did not discipline my kids in the same way. They're two very different kids. So you might need to say to your kid, hey, you're going to be grounded for the next week. I really appreciate you telling me though. What can I do to help? Do you feel like you need to go to counseling? Do you need a coach? What do you need from me? Why did you feel the need to get high? Like get information. But first you want to listen to their whole story. Then at the end, you ask them questions like, can you share with me more? How did you like it? Did you enjoy it? Do you want to do it again? And I'm not judging when I'm sharing this and I'm communicating this with my children. I've gotten my kids to open up so much from just listening and asking very few questions. And I'm still guiding them along the way. There's an art to it. So practice being like the rock of Gibraltar for your kids. So when they come to you and say, oh yeah, my boyfriend, he was getting really hot and heavy with me. Okay, well, how did you feel? Oh, okay. So he was getting hot and heavy. This is how you masterful listen. You just mirror back what they're saying. Like, oh, he was getting hot and heavy. Yeah. Okay. Well, what are you doing about that? Like, how do you feel about that? Well, I was a little uncomfortable. Okay. So you're uncomfortable. So what did you do? What do you do when you're uncomfortable? You're asking them a lot of questions. Well, I don't know. I didn't know what to do. Oh, would you? And then you ask your kid, would you like some help with that? I can give you some words. This is about setting boundaries. Oh, okay. How do you do that, Mom, Dad? Okay. Well, you just say no. Or you get up and you walk away. It sounds like you might need to have a conversation with your boyfriend. Yeah, maybe. Again, I'm not encouraging you to tell your kid to go have sex. I am encouraging you to stay calm and present with boundaries. I'm not saying don't raise your voice. I'm not saying if your kid comes home and goes, hey, Mom, I tried crystal meth today. I'd be furious. Like, excuse me? No, you didn't. Like, there's a problem. Like, you're going to rehab. So again, this is not black and white. I'm saying if you have a kid as they're growing up, be patient and present with them and listen without judgment. Again, unless it's something extreme, like, hey, Mom, I had sex with 3 boys last night. It was great. And they're only 16. Come again? Like, yeah, no, that's not okay. That's not what I'm talking about here. So we really do just want to be open and present and masterful listening with our kids. This is how you do it, you guys, from the adult chair. Okay? This is how we do it. The key to all of this, actually, there are 2 things I want to say. We didn't even go into the attachment of children. But by the way, with attachment, we only have to get it right 30% of the time. So be easy on yourself, please. And then the kids can still have secure attachment. 30%. Nothing is 100% of the time because we're human. 30%. The thing is this. We want to focus on ourselves getting healthy. That is the best thing you can do when it comes to raising healthy kids. Not about teaching, it's about modeling, giving them the experience of healthy. So when you live in your adult chair, you're giving them the experience of being healthy. That's what they need more than anything, because then they learn from you how to live in the big, giant world, how they too can be healthy. Okay, I want to say something to you. I have decided, because again, I've gotten so many requests on doing a podcast on this topic with people that feel like they have really lost their relationship with their kids. You know, as their kids have gotten older, they didn't do this very well. They weren't in their adult, and it's okay. It's okay. I still say it's okay. Here's the thing. I'm doing the very next week, I'm doing another podcast on improving relationships. And you can apply all of these steps that I'm doing next week, even with your kids. So if you feel like you've got a kid that you are just not in a good relationship with, like a teenager or a 20-year-old or a 30-year-old, make sure you listen to next week's show because it's almost like a part 2 to this. But next week, you can apply improving relationships to anybody, but specifically kids. I just want it to be like a takeoff on this too, if you have kids that you're in not the best relationship with. So anyway, all right, you guys, there you have it. 7 steps to raising healthy children. And in their adult chairs, they will quite naturally move into their adult chair between the age of 25 and 30 when they are raised with parents that are in their adults, or at least one parent. Just give them the health. If you have a co-parent or an unhealthy, one of the parents is unhealthy, it's okay. You be the healthy one. You be healthy. I look forward to hearing from you guys on social about this podcast. This was a really big topic because I've heard from so many of you. Do not forget, acceptance. I should have put that as number 8. Acceptance of where you are today is key. You can't change if you haven't accepted where you are. You got to accept where you are. You got to own it. You got to own the kind of parent you are today and then accept that person. Then you can forgive yourself and move on. We do all this in the membership this whole month. So come over to theadultchair.com/membership and check it out. You will love it. And next month, remember, hint, 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 has something to do with triggers. That's all I'm going to say. All right, you guys. Love you all. Thanks for joining me. Hit me up on social media at Michelle Chalfant, or of course, the Adult Chair Closed Group on Facebook. Hope you guys have a beautiful week. Stay in your adult chair, whether you're a parent or not. See you next week, seated right here in the adult chair.